From a flightless simulator at Ferris Air to a momentous meeting in an alley, to the complex mind of an architect, to every far sector in space, and to the brilliance of the central power battery on Oa. This is the podcast that covers the adventures of all of your favorite ring slingers. This is the Emerald Echo with your hosts, Adam and the Emerald Enthusiast.
Welcome to another episode of the Emerald Echo podcast and vidcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam, and with me, as always, is my co-host, the Emerald Enthusiast himself, Donnie. Donnie, how's it going?
What's up, everyone? It's the man whose ring runs on fanboy energy. It is the Emerald Enthusiast, and we're back with another episode of the Emerald Echo.
Yeah, we are, and there's, since I like using this word, a plethora of things to talk about.
You always get extra points for good grammar.
Yeah, I don't know why I like using that word. It just, I like the sound of it, as the Joker would say in 1989. But there is quite a bit to talk about. We're going to discuss in the first part of the show Nathan Fillion and his portrayal of Guy Gardner in the Superman movie. And then we'll take our break, and then the second half we'll talk about Green Lantern comics that we have to catch up on. And there are a few of them, so we will do that as well. So that's the gist of the show. So, Donnie, we now live in a world where James Gunn's DCU is officially underway. I mean, it sort of started with Creature Commandos. That was a soft start, right? Mm-hmm. Or, the appetizer, as James Gunn called it way back when. But now we're fully underway with Superman out and in the public eye. While we're here talking Superman, before we get into the Green Lantern of it all, why don't I give everybody a box office update? As of Friday, July 25th, as of Saturday, the domestic number is Saturday. The international number is as of Friday. But we stand at 272 million in North America and 200.7 million internationally, for a cumulative total worldwide so far of 472 million. That is very good after, as of this recording, 15 days of release. Mm-hmm. Don't believe the armchair box office analysts from a certain cult fan base who will try to tell you otherwise. All the analysts that do this for a living say this is a great result given where the DC EU, or I have other initials for it, but I won't get into that, left off these characters. So it's doing very well. Obviously, the main character was Superman, and I think the film, in the live action movie space, has done a great job of rehabilitating the character. Mm-hmm. In the general audience's eyes, and specifically with Nathan Fillion and his performance as Guy Gardner. I'll say it right off the top. I believe his performance did more good for the Green Lantern in the general public's eyes than not only the Ryan Reynolds movie's entirety did, but also Ryan Reynolds' subsequent decade plus of trashing the character publicly whenever he gets a chance. So I loved, first and foremost, the movie, which you'll be hearing soon when we release that review episode that Nick and I did. But I absolutely adored Nathan Fillion's performance in the role as Guy Gardner. I never doubted him for a second when he was cast. I know that some fans online were how can I put this politely, hesitant for two reasons. One, because years ago they wanted him for Hal Jordan,
Right.
and two, because of his age now. But I never had any doubts, and I think he pulled it off fantastically. So, Donnie, what's your take?
Well, I looked at this. First of all, as far as the box office goes, we don't exactly know what the promotional budget is or was for this movie, but everyone that I have looked at says that now this movie is a box office success.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about Joe Schmoes with an opinion about every comment section every time Superman's mentioned. But when I look at sites that are accredited to like knowing and analyzing the box office, this is exactly what this movie needed to do to get this new continuity off the ground.
And also, just before you continue,
Sure,
it's worth noting that the Wall Street Journal, okay, which is it's a very prestigious.
That's what I'm talking about. Places that actually
have. Yeah. I mean, they do this. Wall Street Journal means they deal with money, and their whole thing is tracking this kind of thing. Independently from DC Studios and Warner Brothers, their sources said that the studio, given the nature of where the DC brand was on film, that 500 million or more worldwide, Warner Brothers would be ecstatic with. Okay. And so it's going to hit that. But when it's all said and done, when it leaves theaters, it's probably going to be at 600 plus million worldwide. Okay. So again, you're correct in looking at actual viable sources, that again track this thing for a living. But continue.
Well, and the thing is, we got, as far as being a Green Lantern fan, and that's for me, I don't have a problem with what came before with the DCEU. I liked Man of Steel, but now as a Green Lantern fan, I look at this and we've gotten more Green Lantern content from this one movie than we got with the entire Arrowverse and the DCEU. From one movie.
Oh, so you mean you don't count that cut garage film scene with that guy that was never officially cast as well? Oh, I'm just checking because
exactly. No,
the internet tells me that Zack Snyder had a plan for Green Lantern, but we never saw it.
And you know what? Maybe he did. But here's the thing: as a current fan, I'm not interested in who did what and
what ifs. Yeah,
I'm not interested in why we didn't get it. It just the fact is we didn't get it. We got Yal and Gur. And that's it.
The people that signed the checks did not sign off on that. So
So between that and of course, and again, I'm a fan of Issa Panerejo, playing Jay. But again, that was a very supporting role in just a few episodes. Now we actually have a Green Lantern. We have a mention of the Green Lantern Corps. We're going to get a show. As a Green Lantern fan, this is far more of why I read DC Comics than what came before it. So I'm very happy. Nathan Fillion knocked it out of the park. He embodied the personality of Guy Gardner perfectly.
Right, I 100% agree. I particular standouts for me from his performance were the part where he mentions the Green Lantern Corps and the fact that he took an oath. The fact that he said, I can't remember the exact quote, but he's talking about because there's a moment in the film, spoilers, where Lois goes to the Hall of Justice to get the Justice Gang, as they're called, to help her go help rescue Superman, who's in captivity at the hands of Lex Luthor. And Guy Gardner starts talking about how asking Lois, how do you know him? Do you know who he is? Do you know he has, hypno glasses that when he wears them confuse people, doesn't know who they are.
Which is comic accurate, by the way.
That's a deep cut by Gunn. When somebody actually knows the comics and they can pull that, and they know more than their extent of their knowledge is more than the Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen. But I digress. But Guy Gardner says, so do you know he's Clark Kent? And Lois says, why does he trust everybody? He tells everybody, right? And Guy Gardner retorts, "No, he just told us because we're all of the cloth."
Of
and
the
he
cloth.
does this, and he did. Which, by the way, I'm wearing my Green Lantern shirt today.
Yes.
But I was well prepared today. But when he says "of the cloth," I was, and my entire theater was bursting out laughing. It was hilarious. That was funny. Another moment where there's that emotional scene where the kid's holding up the flag and
that was my favorite moment in the whole movie,
calling out for Superman, and then he gets there's the green glow of the construct, and he's like, "Sorry, kid, Soups couldn't make it, but you got an upgrade."
You got an upgrade.
Again, I was laughing.
I loved how the fact that in one moment he was heroic and absolutely egotistical and heroic at the same time. It was beautiful.
He managed to maintain his jackassery for sure in that scene.
I kept thinking if that were me, whether I was a kid or an adult, if I'm gripping that flag, in front of a whole bunch of tanks, I'm
still yelling for Superman.
Green Lantern.
No, but I'm still yelling after he comes down with that kind of line. I'd still be yelling for Superman because God knows what's going to happen now. But and then the other part that I will now use this GIF because the GIFs are out there. Anytime somebody upsets me or bugs me online, was when he's flipping over the tanks and he's creating a construct of the middle finger. That is, that is to me, also a nod to our other podcast. Whenever the Leafs upset me this coming season, and there will be many times, expect that GIF to pop up on your social media feeds.
And I love the fact we talked about this. By the way, I was on Lanterns Live, and I was a guest on there to talk about collectibles and my fandom of Green Lantern. But they did more in this movie to show the use of the ring probably than any other live action adaptation. Because a Green Lantern, it doesn't have to have a tether. It doesn't have to just shoot lasers and make bubbles and things like that. Guy obviously knew what he was doing, and you saw him at a distance just take out this entire legion of tanks and soldiers at a distance because he knew what he was doing. That's what a Green Lantern can do. A veteran, a knowledgeable ring slinger can do that.
Yeah.
And I like that James Gunn didn't shy away from that.
Yeah. He got a lot of great moments.
And especially Guy, he would be the kind of guy to fight a battle and just kind of walk through, strut through with the aura and just be like, this is just another day at the office, taking out a whole legion of bad guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great. So he got a lot of great moments, and again, it was just a comic accurate portrayal, and knowing that he's going to transition and be in. He's going to have a cameo of some sorts in Peacemaker as season 2, as we know. And then he's going to transition into the Lantern series, which the dynamic, he said so far he's had a lot of scenes with his scenes with John. So that dynamic is going to be fun to watch play out. And again, that Lanterns show, I don't know the context of what we're going to see, but just by nature of the quality of the people behind the show, that's going to do more for the Green Lantern IP with the general audience than the 2011 movie or anything else we saw on Arrow. Those half-hearted teases to Green Lantern on Arrow in the Arrowverse.
Yeah,
that never
that never materialized.
John Stewart, it's like, really, you can just go the full 9 yards.
We get Ferris Air, but never actually Carol Ferris. We get a ring box, but we never really see John use
exactly.
the ring.
So it's going to do so much more for the IP and the brand, that series. But this is a great sort of appetizer for Green Lantern, I thought. And I think, like I said, people were making noise, cheering when Green Lantern, laughing when Green Lantern did stuff. And when it comes to Guy Gardner, that's what they should be doing. It's also worth noting, and I didn't expect this, but it happened, and I'm shocked by it. But it speaks to the benefit of launching certain characters and IP on television or streaming first. The cameo by John Cena's Peacemaker got an incredible pop in my theater, and I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
at all. But here we are. And so, again, it speaks to what I have said many times when we talked about the Lantern series, that I think it is a good idea to introduce the bulk of the Lantern mythos in a series first, because there's less pressure than if they had done it in a reboot movie, right?
No, and you're right, and I think they're going about this the right way.
Yeah. So,
and by the way, let me give you an example. Okay, Peacemaker. I tried to watch season 1. It's really not my cup of tea.
Sure,
I'm definitely going to watch season 2 if Guy Gardner's there, but I still root for the show to be successful.
Sure.
Just because they're not adapting things exactly the way I want it, doesn't mean that I can get online and throw a fit and tell people, hey, don't support this because they didn't do X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. I mean, you should want
DC properties to do well.
Right. I mean, look, I'll tell you right now, if James Gunn tomorrow announces a Metal Man movie or series, that's probably one that I'm going to sit out, because I don't like the Metal Man concept. I've seen.
I would love it, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just not my thing. I've read a couple of things with them. Sure. It just doesn't grab me, and that's fine, right? But I'm not going to sit here and say, man, I hope that doesn't do good because I don't like it. Like, I didn't like what was that show with all the weird characters. It was a spinoff from Titans.
Oh shoot!
It had Brendan Fraser as the robot.
Right. Shoot, Doom Patrol.
Thank you. Yes. I tried that.
Yeah.
For a season. It lost me when one of the characters started eating hair. But it wasn't my thing. But I wasn't sitting there thinking, man, I hope this gets canceled because I don't like it. I just didn't watch it. It's simple. So, but I still root. I'm like, hey, listen, for the people that love it, great. If that gets you to check out other DC stuff, great. Mm-hmm. Just wasn't for me. Yeah. So,
but I have met fans online who they'll tell you straight up, if they can't have exactly what they want, they'd rather there be absolutely nothing. Well, and we will never agree on that, because I'd rather see a property get adapted and make the IP healthier and more visible in the mainstream.
And I'll tell you straight up, people that act like that are stupid. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I can't sugarcoat it more than that. I could say something worse, but I'm trying to be PG on it because I know we're going to record a Leaf podcast after, and I don't know how long I can stay PG for. So I'm trying to do it now.
I'm going to have to bleep some things in post-production there, I think.
Right. So but for now, I'll stay PG. If I could put the gif of Green Lantern giving the middle finger in this podcast, I think we could, actually. I think there's ways to do these little things. Until we figure it out, just imagine me posting that gif up as we're talking. So those people that say, I don't want anything DC if I can't get what I want.
Yeah.
But so, and here's just further proof that this movie has been successful. Just as of this recording, just the other day, it was announced that the HBO Max pilot for a potential Booster Gold series, that James Gunn had outlined in his opening when he first announced the initial phase of DC Studios, that's got now a writer on board and is being written. So the floodgates are opening because of Superman's success.
Yes.
If Superman, if the executives weren't happy, they wouldn't be putting a writer on Booster Gold. Mm-hmm. They'd be like, maybe we should hold off on Booster Gold and see how Supergirl does first. You know what I mean? So,
and you know what? There's an aura, just an air of optimism around this universe now.
I went to go watch Fantastic Four First Steps yesterday, and I saw a bunch of Superman shirts in the theater. One of the guys in my screening, and keep in mind, a Marvel movie screening, was wearing a really cool Superman shirt. I'm like, I wonder where he got that shirt. I want that shirt. But I digress.
Well, and props to all of the fans who are out there. And of course, you have some fans who are, getting tribalistic and they want to be, Superman versus the Fantastic Four. No, there are plenty of fans out there like myself who are like, they want it all to do well.
Yeah,
of course I want the Fantastic Four to do well.
Yeah, and I'll post what I posted online, which is this. I really like the Fantastic Four. Maybe once you see it, we'll do a proper review in an episode. But I really liked it.
There was a time when the Fantastic Four was one of Marvel's premier properties. Long time ago.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, they're not my favorite Marvel hero or group, but I really enjoyed the movie. And I'll say this now. If you force me to choose which one I like more, I'm going to say Superman. But full disclosure, my heart, like I like both, but my heart belongs to DC Comics and the DC Universe. You've heard me say this before. I'll say it again because that's the analogy I use, and some people think it's funny. But since I have, Multiverse Wives list, which the pen is here. I haven't used it yet, but I haven't had an opportunity. But if I had to compare Marvel and DC to relationship, DC is the woman, in my case, that I'd bring home to my parents to potentially,
marry.
I might marry this woman. Marvel is fun. It's great. But it is the relationship equivalent of a one-night stand. And what I mean by that is, listen, I get together, frolic around in that universe for a couple hours, I have fun, and it's all good. And then I go away, no strings attached. And when the next one comes around, we'll revisit, the fun. But
I could say like DC for you is like Mary Jane, whereas Marvel's kind of like Black Cat.
Yeah, if you're going to use the Marvel analogy, that's it. And Black Cat is a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. Just ask Spider-Man in one of his recent issues. But I don't have look. If a Marvel movie does bad, the next one hopefully will be better. Like it doesn't bother me. It doesn't hurt me, right? When a DC movie does bad, when BBS had a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes and lost 69% of its audience in the second weekend, that hurt me. Okay.
Well, and it's
physically it hurt me.
I remember how optimistic a lot of DC fans were at the time.
Emotionally, it hurt me. You know why? Because I've been waiting for the team up of those two characters
your whole
since
life.
I was 10 years old. You know what else hurts me that much? The Leafs. That's the only other thing I allowed to hurt me that much.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to, but again, my point is, I love the Fantastic Four. Like I enjoyed that movie.
Sure.
So this idea, let's make it a comparison. Why? They're both doing great for the brand. Enjoy it for their respective brands. Because Marvel's, with the exception of Deadpool and Wolverine, Marvel's been in the toilet recently. Okay. DC's been crapped upon from 2013 to 2021, in my opinion, but that's my opinion. So both are doing great for the brand. Let's enjoy it, for God's sake. As fans of this, the comic books of the comic book movie genre, can we enjoy it and not get into stupid tribalism?
Yeah, and you mentioned the Fantastic Four. It wasn't that long ago that I was watching the honest trailer on the Fantastic Four 1994 movie.
Yeah.
The one that never actually got released.
Yeah.
That's where comic books were 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You got adaptations that looked awful and they weren't taken seriously. Now we have a couple of different shared universes. We're getting more now than I ever could have dreamed of as a young man. So
and again,
very happy.
Final point on this before we take a break. I understand tribalism. I get it. Like you'll never see me cheer for the Montreal Canadiens under any circumstance. Like it will just never happen. Like Margot Robbie could walk to my door, like she could knock at my door in a Montreal Canadiens jersey, and just a Montreal Canadiens jersey, and I would politely close the door in her face. That's how much I hate the Montreal. So it wouldn't. And you know what? You know how hard that would be for me to do that. Everybody who knows me, and that's why Donnie's laughing, knows that would be the hardest closing of a door that I would ever have to do. But the point is, I do it. And so I understand tribalism in sports. But this is comic books. It's not the same thing.
That's what, Marvel doing well or DC doing well doesn't have to be at the expense of the other. That's not how it works.
Yeah, it's not like, hey, if DC does well, they get 2 points in the standings, and Marvel gets nothing, or vice versa. That ain't it.
It's not like Superman's taking a cheap shot at the thing, like Anthony Stolarz was given by Sam Bennett. I'm still not over that.
And he got away with it. I hate it. I hate Gary Bettman. Anyway. I digress. Anyway, but so that's the point. The point is, look, Superman's doing great. The Green Lantern adaptation within Superman of Guy Gardner was fantastic.
Also, I want to add, Hawk Girl and Mr. Terrific, if they did a spinoff of either one of those, I think those would be successful.
By the way, there is talk of the Wall Street Journal. Again, look, hey, there's another that reputable thing. They said that there are spinoffs in the works for Mr. Terrific.
As they should be.
And a Jimmy Olsen series, which is rumored. Again, this is rumored. This is not true, but not that it's not true. It's not verified officially yet. But a rumored Jimmy Olsen series would feature, it's basically him reporting on villains within the DC universe each episode. And one of them the first one, I think, would introduce Gorilla Grodd. That's reportedly what's going on. If that happens, like, sign me up for both of those shows. Also, since I have the panel, before we move on, I have to call out Jimmy Olsen because, first of all, the fact that he's in this universe a sex magnet goes back to some old school comics where that was the case. But I'm sitting there, and the two girls looking across and giggling at him, and I'm like, what? Older, like, I gotta give props to Jimmy Olsen. Look at this reaction he's getting. All of a sudden, I'm kindred spirits with Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
In the movie. First of all, the second thing. There were moments in the movie where, because Eve Tessmacher wants to leave Lex Luthor and go to him and spend. He's turning her, like, she mentions she's going to leave Lex, and she'll turn over evidence against him. All she wants to do is spend the weekend, 48 hours with him. And he's trying to find ways out of it.
He's got stuff to do. You got to admire the guy.
I don't. But listen, Jimmy. Forget about what her toes potentially look like, and I'm sure they look fine. But even if they're twisted and mangled, the rest of her is fantastic. So, Jimmy, I implore you, just spend the 48 hours with him, buddy. Trust me, I would. So,
and I'll say too, that version of the character still seemed like Jimmy Olsen to me.
Oh yeah, well, it was much more Jimmy Olsen than that CIA agent that got shot in the head in BBS. But,
who I didn't even learn was Jimmy Olsen until after the movie.
Yeah, well, what do I know? But yeah, so listen, Jimmy, go with Eve, spend the 48 hours, because if I could, I would. And I'm not in that fictional universe, unfortunately. So you're gonna have to bite the bullet for me, sir. But do it.
There was even a crypto moment that I liked in the movie. Now, I thought we got a little too much of crypto, but there was a moment, and I don't want it to be too spoilerish here, but there was a moment that I was like, that's a good use of that character.
Yes, I think I know which moment look, again, let me reiterate. I'm not, see, whenever I say this, people are going to think I hate dogs, but I don't. I'm not a dog person because when I was a kid, I had an experience that scared the crap out of me. So I'm not a dog person. It's not that I hate dogs. I don't. I don't want any harm to come to any dogs by any stretch of the imagination. It's just I'm still like if I became a superhero, Batman became Batman because of his fear of bats. I'd be Dogman, which would not be a good superhero. But I digress.
Right. But by the way, I love dogs. But if you want to stick around till after the break, there is a character based on a dog that I'm going to talk about in not glowing terms.
But so many kids in my screening were oohing and awing every time Crypto came on screen. So the guy did it. The dog did his job, and
the character's selling lots of toys.
Yeah, and I got to admit, there was a moment last week we had to babysit my brother's dog because he went away on vacation. So we had to babysit the dog for a day. So and she's one of the only dogs that I sort of am good with, like, because I have no choice, right? So I had to get comfortable with her. So she's sitting there on the couch and she's lying down, and she turns over because she wants her belly rubbed, right? And she raises her head and cocks it and looks at me. So I'm like, all right, I guess I got to rub it. So I oblige and I start rubbing her belly. And then I look at her and say, I'll give you credit. You're cute, but you'd be a lot cuter if you were crypto. To which she looked up at me, and if she could talk, would have said, "Shut up, moron, and keep rubbing." That's what I imagine she would have said. So, but that was the crypto one. But if I could, I would have bought her a cape and put it on her. But I still may. Who knows? Yeah. So, by and large, any final words on Guy Gardner before we take a break?
Hot Toys, get to work. I've seen your Superman proto. I want a Guy Gardner action figure, 1/6 scale.
By the way, I know you don't frequent Twitter anymore, but Peter Vera did buy a Green Lantern figure, a Guy Gardner figure, and dedicated the purchase to you. So,
oh, cool! I didn't know that.
I will have him send. I'm going to tell him to.
That's cool.
To send it to you via Facebook.
Send me the link. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have him send it to you via Facebook. I'll let him know.
If you're listening to this and you don't know about my other channel, I have several reviews of Guy Gardner Superman movie products that are available on my channel. That's Emerald Enthusiast.
And if anybody that doesn't listen to him is shocked by this, all you have to do is listen to one episode, and you would have known that. But I digress. All right, so this is a good time to take a break, and then we'll come back on the other side of the break and talk some comics. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Don't go anywhere.
What's up, everyone? It's the Emerald Enthusiast. For all of your multiverse viewing and listening needs, check out our shows, which include Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, Power Rangers, the Marvel Universe, and the DC Universe, including the Emerald Echo podcast. You can check us out on Podbean, and remember to subscribe right here on YouTube. That's the Multiverse Musings Podcast Network. From the first podcast to the last.
And we're back.
We are. And so, Donnie, where are we starting with the books?
Green Lantern number 23 is where we are starting. We have 5 issues we're going to cover today.
Yes, and we'll still be behind, but it is just the nature of things. We'll get to the absolute Green Lantern as soon as we can, for sure. Maybe we'll do the first arc as one big one story. Like, we'll wait till the first arc is done and then dedicate an episode just to that particular book. We'll see. We'll figure it out. But all right, take it away, Don.
Okay, so the title of this story, and we will put the creative team in the video, but this is a story called Hellbound. And if you remember in the previous issue, Hal Jordan finds Nort and in hell. So we have this issue opens up with Hal and the Phantom Stranger and Zariel. They are exploring this like corner of hell with now Nort, who says that he's been there a while and he ran out of his ring charge. And people always talk about how positive I am about Green Lantern, and 99.9% of the time I am. But once again, I'm like, okay, why did the Green Lanterns let him keep a ring? Why?
I just want to know, because we've had Jeremy Adams on the show. Hopefully we'll do it again. But I just want to know if maybe he listened to, did I mention your hatred of Nort when he was on the show? Because I feel like he's putting this in to make me smile and you squirm. I don't know, but I'd like to believe that.
It could be. And it's not that I think Nort could be great comic relief if he was like, the guy who took out the trash or something. But
let me ask you this: who do you dislike more, Nort or Sam Bennett?
Oh, at least Nort's good for a couple of laughs every once in a while.
Okay, I just have to clarify that. Carry on.
Yeah. Sam Bennett, they could make him a great villain in the DC universe, but
he
let's not get
sidetracked. Red Lantern for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a Sinestro Corps member. Yeah. Black Hand. Cast him as Black Hand. Maybe that's Marshawn. Marshawn is going to be cast as Black Hand in the Lantern series. I just know it.
So this group finds a prisoner in hell called Adia, and this alien knows Hal, who imprisoned him in hell back when Hal was bonded to the Spectre. This is kind of a precursor of how this story unfolds.
Mm-hmm.
And Adia actually has this necklace that Hal knows could be used to stop Starbreaker. And he was like, yeah, I know that I told you before that you could keep this necklace, but not now.
Mm-hmm.
And this just absolutely enrages Adia, who mentions the word several times, disgust. And I believe that's going to be part of kind of the new norm for the emotional spectrum, that's going to play into that, the emotion of disgust beyond just anger.
Yeah.
However, at the same time, someone else shows up, a very familiar face, and that is the Spectre.
Who is without a host at this point.
Exactly, without a host. And the reason the Spectre is following Hal is because he wants to combine once again. He wants Hal to be his host. And so we get a battle between Hal and the Spectre, and Hal is like, absolutely not. And I actually like what he says here. He was like, my shoulders are not that strong to be something that, to be kind of to be connected with God's vengeance and God's judgment is too much for a human being. So even somebody who has indomitable will like Hal Jordan doesn't want that kind of responsibility.
Right.
Really good art here, by the way. The coloring in particular really gives you the idea like they're down in like a dark, remote place.
Yeah. Well,
and so I really like the way that is colored and the way that's drawn.
And I also like the the different shades of green for the Spectre and Hal. And then he had the construct of the knight armor when he was fighting the Spectre.
Yes.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I dug that. But again, I just love that Jeremy Adams picked up that plot thread of, from the past of the quote unquote breakup, if you will, of Hal and the Spectre.
Right. Well, I mean, that was a big part of Rebirth.
Right.
Was, Hal breaking free from being the avatar of the Spectre.
Right.
Simultaneously with Parallax.
Right. Yeah.
So we see that Hal absolutely will not entertain this idea. So meanwhile, in the Reach space, we see that Kyle and Superboy and Odyssey, they're moving their ship into a gas cloud, but the Interceptor is ambushed by an enormous monster. So we have these two storylines unfolding simultaneously. That's part of why I like this run so much, is once again, we're not just getting a smaller story, we're getting these different levels of reality here, because we have one group that's down in hell and we have another group that's up in space.
It's funny that like this book is kind of like, because you have the two storylines going on, it's kind of like the Hal and Kyle book. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then GL Core is everybody else.
Right.
So it's
really, and that's what I want to say.
Yeah.
I see this all the time. And again, I get it if you have favorites, but all the time I see on every like Green Lantern Corps Green Lantern Corps message boards, there's too many humans. We have to eliminate some. And I'm going to say right here now, absolutely not. Because Jeremy Adams, in these 5 issues, we see Joe and Jessica have a good story arc. We see Simon have a good story arc with characters who in Kelly Quintella wasn't used very much, and another character in Ellie who didn't exist that long ago. And Jeremy Adams is making space to use all of these characters effectively. So again, I don't agree that there are too many Earth Lanterns. I think that there are not enough or at least in recent memory, there haven't been enough storytelling opportunities for them to stretch out and show you why these characters have all been created.
Donnie would kill off Nort before he kills off the human. That's it.
See, I would use him like Kenny in South Park, where he like died every issue and then came back for whatever reason.
Yeah, that would be kind of funny. James, Christmas special with Nort. Come on, do it for God. Do it for me. Come on, James. Come on, I supported Superman. I watched Creature Commandos. I'm going to watch Peacemaker. You got my support. Just give me that Nort Christmas special. Donnie loves Christmas.
Right, exactly.
Even Donnie would watch it because he loves Christmas.
Yeah. So the Interceptor is able to move through reach space and eventually get away from this creature. But back in hell, and it sounds weird to keep saying that on a Green Lantern podcast, but later we see that Adia has another visitor to their place of captivity, and that turns out to be Starbreaker.
Yeah.
And he's aware that Adia would offer up his soul in exchange for revenge for the theft of the necklace. And from his restraints, he invites Adia to join, and I mean Starbreaker, to join his corps.
Yeah.
But he asks him, what kind of emotion does Adia use for motivation? What empowers you? And Adia says, disgust.
Ooh.
And that's how this issue ends, with him screaming disgust.
All I kept thinking when I was watching that scene play out was, Starbreaker is kind of like The Rock asking for Cody Rhodes' soul. I'm like, what's going on here? This is a little bit ridiculous, but yeah. And just the frequency with which people apparently visit hell is quite entertaining. So,
like I said, this is not where I thought this story was going to go, because Green Lantern doesn't often employ spiritual backdrops for their storytelling.
We missed an opportunity for a Spawn cameo. That's what I'm saying. But do you want to rate this issue, or do you want to rate all 5 just as one?
Well, I do have something to say at the end, so let's kind of rate them all at the very end here.
Okay, cool. All right.
Okay, now we're going to move on to Green Lantern Corps number 5.
Sure.
And this is very interesting too, because we talked in the last episode how this is finally addressing a piece of the Green Lantern story, a piece of the Green Lantern mythos that has been missing, and that is the origin of the gauntlet that Kelly Quintella is wearing.
Yeah.
Now in Young Justice number 9, that's where the original story came from, but it really wasn't developed. And there's been a couple of instances, like with the Jeff Thorne run, where it was important, but we haven't seen the exact nature of the backstory yet of how that gauntlet came to be and the alien that gave it to Kelly. But in this issue, both Kelly and Simon are trapped in a mind maze, and they're going back through their origins, only their origins are different.
Yeah.
They're infected somehow, and they're twisted.
Yeah.
And it's really dark in that aspect, because again, this is all going on in their consciousnesses.
Yeah.
In their collective consciousness. So
it seems like their worst memory gets worse, right?
Right, and we talk about when
in this dream world or whatever.
Yeah, when Simon saves Nazir in the main continuity. First of all, Nazir was a lot older.
Yeah.
Here, Nazir looks like a boy, and not only is Simon not able to save him, he attacks Simon.
Yeah. Now, Donnie, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So again, your worst nightmare gets worse in this scenario, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Now, if I was going through this nightmare escape, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your worst nightmare is supposed to get worse, right? Explain to me how the 2014 loss to Boston could get worse than it did. Because I was trying to figure that out. Because I imagine my worst nightmare would be reliving that over and over. Like if I go to hell, I'm going to be reliving that, and it's entirely possible.
So you go to get Austin Matthews' autograph at the end of the game, and he attacks you with his stick.
Oh, yeah, but he was on that team in 2014.
Oh, that's right, 2004. No, he wasn't there.
How would that memory get worse? Like, how does that game get worse? Because that would be the worst.
So Tyler Bozak.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
So he attacks you. So at the same time this is going on, the scene also shifts to, remember we had Guy and a new character named Narf.
Yeah.
And they were under attack.
Isn't that somebody from the Thundercats?
That's Snarf.
Oh,
there's Snarf and Snarfer.
Yeah, close enough.
But it's funny, Dan from Mosaic Comics, I listened to his channel. He was like, yeah, at least once I'm going to make that mistake.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I was like, hey, Thundercats. Yeah. And then I started doing the Thunder, the whole bit. It's just me. I'm old.
So, yeah, let's see. Let me go back and talk about Nor. I don't understand, like, okay, so Jeremy Adams, we have this new character who would be perfect for that role that Nort is playing. I mean, so this would be like kind of my only real criticism here of these 5 issues is, okay, we could have Narf say, oh, I accidentally, he's obviously a comic relief character. I accidentally got, stumbled into hell down here, and I'm sorry because I'm not trained. And so I team up with Hal or whatever, and, he could be playing the role here instead of Nort showing up. But I digress.
You know what? I want a one-shot of Snarf and Nort just to...
No, Narf. I'm going to make that mistake too.
What did I call him?
You said Snarf. Snarf is the Thundercats character. But they're under
attack. By the time you people watch this, I'm going to be 42. I'm old.
Now, I will say that I really like Evil Star was a character that, was a big part of the Silver Age, and I'm always happy to see that character come back into the mythos. So that's who is attacking Guy and Narf.
Yeah.
So back to the mind maze, we also see that Kelly is reliving the moment with her abuela.
Yeah, her grandmother.
And her grandmother actually looks really evil in this one panel, and much like with Nazir, she attacks Kelly. Yeah, and so we're learning here that whoever is someone else and something is influencing the mind maze here.
Yeah. I just really like what I loved about that whole sequence was that there was a moment where Kelly was contemplating going through the door that would, quote unquote, allow her to stay with her grandmother, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Simon was interjecting, saying, "I'm not going to leave you here."
Well, yeah, and that's the choice that she had to make was stay with her grandmother or trust Simon.
And I just love the brother-sister relationship that those two have going on, and how it's just continued to grow. I really love that.
But we also get, maybe a clue here that this version of her grandmother, and again, this is obviously, this is a mind maze. This is not her actual grandmother. I want to make that clear. She says, only Kelly can open it. The glove chose you for a reason.
Right.
So we're going to get some more information on the origin of the glove at some point and the exact nature of the gauntlet at some point.
Yeah.
But also, I'm really interested because the last image of her grandmother, she's snarling and she has the Green Lantern Corps symbols in her eyes. And so I'm like, there's got to be some kind of villain, a known villain behind this. Because I think that's the clue there is the fact that she's able to, that we see the Green Lantern Corps symbol in her eyes. That's got to mean something.
Oh, absolutely.
That's not by chance.
I don't think that was put in just for fun, There's definitely more behind it, for sure.
So as Guy and I got ready to say it, Guy and Narf are trying to make their escape. They call for Space Cabbie because again they're trying to get away from Evil Star on this planet, and Narf does something very unexpected here. He jumps out of the cab and attacks, and there's been some debate online about whether he was using his ring to do this or if this is a part of his natural ability.
Kind of hulked out, yeah.
He hulks out and gets enormous and screams, "Beware my power," and attacks Evil Star, which I thought was a really cool moment because that was my reservation about Narf, was that he was going to be like Nort. He was going to be just a character who's underfoot, getting in the way, is only there for comedic effect, but that does not seem to be the case. He has the ability to fight back somehow, some way, whether it's using his ring, because he is kind of crackling with energy all around him here. The Green Lantern Corps symbol on his chest is glowing, but it may be kind of a natural ability of his race. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch play out. Hopefully we'll get an answer.
So at the same time, Simon knocks out Enzo. Remember, he was the shopkeeper from the issue before that kind of started all of that for them. And they meet up with Guy and Narf and Space Cabbie, and they get away.
Yeah.
But this issue ends with a very kind of foreboding image, and that is Kelly walking towards this door, and it says, or excuse me, it's Kelly's mind, and it's Ellie walking towards the door, and someone behind the door says, "You won't get in here, Ellie." And she looks very concerned. And so, again, I really like the build that these two books are giving us right now.
Yeah, it's very... It keeps you... It does the job of any good book in the sense that it keeps you wanting to come back. Because you're so curious of what's going on. And again, I like that we don't have all the answers. I like that this is unpredictable.
Well, and this is giving us answers. And I will say on a couple of different boards, I saw people giving Jeremy Adams a lot of heat because he hasn't given them answers right away. And I'll say this, he has given us, remember, he's working within the confines of these books.
It's a monthly series, folks.
And I'm sure that all writers get claustrophobic from time to time as far as the way they have to tell their stories. They can only, they're under certain editorial mandates. They have to use certain characters. They have to do certain things. And he is giving us the answers eventually. So just be patient. Give the guy time.
And usually, they're writing an ongoing. You want it to keep on going, so you can't give you all the answers in one issue because then the series is over.
Right.
So
now I will say this cover gave me anxiety because that's Kyle's mask on the cover.
Yes,
and it looks destroyed, and I was like, "Uh-oh."
Thankfully,
yeah, that did not happen. So we'll get into this issue now. But that really is a nice cover.
Yeah, it's a cool cover.
So we open up in Coast City now, and we see that Hal and Carol are teaming up against a group of villains, and Carol is showing off her ability to create new constructs.
Yes.
And Hal is really impressed. And he tells her, remember, you and I talked about like the very first Silver Age issues. Early on, Hal's constructs were very simple. And he talks here about how he only had a couple in the beginning that he could really rely on.
Right.
And I kind of like that callback, that it wasn't something that, even though his will was unusual, it's not like he understood everything about the ring right away.
Yeah. And what I liked about this conversation was, amidst the fight, was when Carol says something to the effect of, "I can't figure out how the rest of you Green Lanterns can, create so many different constructs." We've had that same conversation admiring the artists who have to come up with those constructs. Right. So I thought that was kind of like a very meta moment in the book of how we've talked about the artists being amazing for being able to.
Well, and that's why I still keep going back to Volume 3 is the art and the creativity of Darryl Banks. And yes, I use every opportunity to interject about him and Ron Mars in every conversation.
That's going to be a drinking game going forward. Water, because I don't drink because I can't.
Well, I don't drink either, and that's part of the reason. Because if
I
play drinking games,
it'll be just forewarning. If anything drives me to drink, it'll eventually be the Leafs, but we're not there yet. Surprisingly,
not there yet. So
shockingly.
Back in deep space, we pick up with the Interceptor once again, still flying backwards. And that is something that gets a. You know what's funny is that when I was seeing the Interceptor in earlier issues, I was like, "Am I remembering this wrong?" So I had to go back and watch a couple scenes on the animated series, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm not remembering that wrong." I'm like, maybe they changed like the inner controls of the ship. I didn't know. So
yeah, no, they're driving it backwards.
Well, maybe it obviously flies both ways. So
nothing wrong with that. To quote Jerry Seinfeld and George Costanza, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Of course not. So now Hal and Carol go off to Sunnyside Prison Camp, and they take this group of criminals off to prison, but they realize that something is very off about this prison now. Because all of a sudden everyone is like very jovial, and they're almost treating this like it's some kind of a yoga retreat or something. Oh, everybody's here, and even the criminals right away, they're very happy to be there. And Hal and Carol are like, yeah, we need to go investigate.
Yeah, I mean, Hal really didn't want to because he wanted to go to China and have dinner with Carol, which
he wanted to have a date night. That's okay.
Probably understandable, but hey, when duty calls, you got to put these things on hold.
And they find that in the basement of this prison, there's a doctor who has an axolotl, and he's named this being Happy. And this little creature gives off joyous feelings to everyone around him, and so he's kind of infected the entire population of the prison with happiness.
So I'm gonna need one of those for April, is what you're
saying. They should issue these to Leafs fans during the playoffs.
Yeah. Come on, let's get on that. Somebody, whatever it's called, get on that.
Well, and I wondered, I was like, is this, and again, this was just me theorizing. I was like, is maybe this an offspring of the Predator, or is this a shard of the Predator that has, reincarnated somehow?
Oh, that's a good thought. Yeah, could be.
So back in deep space, we see that Kyle and Khan and Odyssey and Silver Scarab, they come upon this immense energy source in deep space. And as soon as I saw this, I was like, okay, I think I've been suspecting for a long time. We kind of got the clues that Jeremy Adams was going to introduce a certain character. And as soon as I saw this, and Odyssey began to talk about how this energy source was different, I knew that or at least I suspected that a certain character was on the way, and I was not disappointed. However, there's also some very familiar characters before we see this other character, and that is the Manhunters. And from a narrative point of view, I'm always happy to see the Manhunters because, as Jim Ross would say, business is about to pick up.
Indeed, yeah. And it did.
So at the same time, back at the prison, Carol is looking at Happy, and Hal's like, yeah, we need to take this creature for investigation. And the minute they suggest that Happy's going to be taken, the warden gets absolutely enraged. And he's like, he's mine after all. And we see that instantly he's orange. So you know that avarice is manifesting in him. And remember, with the way the emotional spectrum is manifesting now, anyone can suddenly manifest this kind of emotional spectrum power, even if they don't have a ring.
Right.
And obviously that's what happens here, and it spreads among the inmates. So Hal and Carol are in a very precarious situation.
When he said it's mine, the first thing I thought of was Larfleeze.
Well, that's exactly. I mean, that's how people, when they are infected with avarice from the emotional spectrum in the DC universe, that's how they feel. Mm. And so again, they're trapped in the middle of this prison, and again, they're on the lower level, so they can't get up and just immediately fly away. And they also have to protect Happy in all of this. However, Happy is able to get close enough to cancel out the manifestation of avarice, and everyone around them is able to come to their senses.
Yeah, this Happy is quite impressive.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't wait, to learn more about this character as the story goes on.
Yeah.
So back in deep space, Odyssey and Silver Scarab and Khan and Kyle are fighting off a large group of manhunters. They use the Philosopher's Stone in the battle, and this sends out a tremendous wave of green energy that we see eventually results in a character forming, and it's very similar to an episode of Green Lantern, the animated series, not surprisingly. And at the very end of this issue is an absolutely gorgeous full-page drawing, and it is Aya. And of course, we've seen Razor in this story, so
it was consciousness.
It was only a matter of time that I thought that we would see Aya, and I'm so happy about this because we never got the resolution to that. We know there was a season 2 planned, which did not come to fruition, but now we're seeing that, and she says, "My name is Aya, and I'm grateful to be home." Yeah, and she looks exactly the way that I remember her on the show.
And I love that. I love that on the show she was the ship's consciousness. I love the character on the show. So, Jeremy Adams worked on the show, so to see him bringing it back, both Razor and now Aya, it's great. So I'm appreciative of that. But yeah, this was a wonderful surprise, and the art looks fantastic, as you alluded to. So yeah.
So now we cut to a story. This is Green Lantern Corps number 6, and it's called "Keep Your Head Up." And maybe my favorite line from this is right away. This is brutal, but man, it really gives Sinestro, it really illustrates his personality, because he and John are having this exchange, and John's like, "I'm an architect, right?" And Sinestro goes, "An Earth architect. I've seen your cities. That's not something to be proud of."
He's so dismissive.
That's brutal, man.
He's such a jerk. He's so dismissive.
He really does not like Earthlings. He doesn't like any of them.
I mean, to be fair, we're not the best people in the world, especially the overall.
I mean, some of the things, I understand.
I can't say I always... the state of humanity is not in its best form, but man, Sinestro is really tearing us a new one in this book.
Yeah. So now in this issue, Jessica Cruz, she is in the midst of sending out Sinestro on a mission to Corrigar to sift through the remains of the central power battery there, the yellow central power battery. And he is accompanied by Vexaru.
Right.
But as they arrive to Sinestro's home world, they are greeted by a couple of characters that we haven't seen in a while in this book, but that is the Sinister Sons.
Yes.
And I was happy to see their inclusion here.
Oh, it was nice to see them. Again, them having their own book might not have worked, but as characters who appear elsewhere often, I mean, sure.
And I also really like the subplot here is Jessica and Joe going to Mogo. And oh man, I really like their pairing here, because it shows that Joe had enough awareness to realize that Jessica had fallen back into her old habits of staying inside and not going out and engaging with the world. And so Joe shows some ability to understand the psychology here and know what needs to be done.
Yeah, that was a really great moment because the whole aspect of that was great because, again, we haven't dismissed Jessica's anxiety. Like nobody's forgot about it. You know what I mean?
Because remember, Mogo has been injured. Remember, Mogo was attacked when Sinestro had the red ring.
Yes.
And she's able to show some empathy. And he initially attacks Jessica and Joe when they come to him, but she's able to reach out with that emotion,
right,
and show him some caring, and that stops his attack. And at the same time, Joe tells Jessica, I knew what you needed. I knew you needed to be here to be part of this.
It livens up Jessica and gets her out of her emotional funk. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like I said, this whole subplot in this issue, I loved it. I thought it was, again, it's a real serious issue because anxiety doesn't. When you have anxiety, and I've had it before, mm-hmm. it has the potential to crop back up.
Right.
But I just loved the fact that the way Jessica was able to work through it by helping somebody else who was, in this case, Mogo, who was going through a similar situation. It's that need to help others that snapped her out of her funk, and it's that realization that somebody else is going through it worse than you are can really be the kick in the pants that you need.
Well, and that is part of the strength of the Green Lantern mythos, is when these emotions are explored in such a way, it makes for some really powerful storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, but back at the same time, we get on Korrigar, the Sinister Sons attack Sinestro and Vexaru, and Lord Zod in particular seems to fall instantly for Vexaru.
Listen, I don't blame him whatsoever because she was drawn very, very attractively. Yeah.
So this ends with Sinestro saying that he doesn't need the nth metal that they were looking for, and he tells Sinsen that he's impressed by him, which of course makes Sinsen very happy.
Yeah. Even Sinestro's compliments to his own kid are so subdued and muted. It's like, can you just go give your kid a hug? Like, I know you're a jerk. I know you're a villain. But go give the kid a hug, goddammit.
Well, and then this issue ends, the very last page. We cut to the Castle of the Desolate Stone. And we see that, I love saying that every time. We see that Starbreaker is looking at these glowing multicolored gems. And he says, almost one thing remains, and then we will feed forever. And of course, he's talking about lighting the Sorrow Battery.
Oh, yeah.
And that leads into Green Lantern number 25.
I'll just tell you, the Sorrow Battery has been lit for me since 1993. Anyway.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But also, if Starbreaker is the Undertaker, I propose that we have Larfleeze as his Paul Bearer. That's come on, Jeremy Adams. You know what you're doing. You know you're wrestling. Get on that. And Larfleeze can clutch the urn, as if his life depended on it, because that's what he would do anyway. So it all works out.
All right, so now we jump on to Green Lantern number 25. And on the cover it says, the Starbreaker Supremacy begins. And this opens up with the Guardians in in a meeting worrying about the state of the emotional spectrum.
And you're always, I'm always dubious of whenever the Guardians are involved.
Well, and exactly, we that's one area we haven't exactly gotten a lot of answers about why the Guardians are different at this point and what their angle is with what's going on, which I'm sure we'll get more.
Well, what's funny is that even though they're different, I'm still like, they still can't shake the stigma that their past, behavior created.
Mm-hmm.
With me, anyway.
Well, then the scene shifts to, it says somewhere within. And we see that Ellie is sitting in front of this door. Now, she's sitting in like all blackness with the exception of this door.
Mm.
And she's trying to open this door, but every time she reaches for it, there's this like electric reaction from it. And she's not allowed to open the door. Now, at the same time, back in reality, so to speak, Kelly calls out to her and she was like, are you there?
Mm.
And at the same time, we see that Guy and Hal are both present for the eventual relighting of the various batteries from the emotional spectrum. Now, remember, that's been the Green Lantern's end game here, is to relight the central power batteries of the other cores to try to stabilize the spectrum.
And Guy is really worried about this decision, this choice.
Well, and I want to point out something here, too. Well, first, let me point out a really hilarious moment. When Hal and Carol, they have an embrace. And Guy's like, all right, quit making me realize how empty my life is. And Carol's like, it's taken you this long? I'm like, that's brutal, Carol. Come on, leave the poor guy alone.
Oh, my God.
After all, he's a major box office star now.
He is.
But something that I want to point out here that I've noticed from, if you remember when we talked about when the issue where we saw Tom Kalmaku, when we had the creation of the new rings, right. I noticed that there was a similar pattern there as well as here with the Green Lantern battery in the middle.
Okay. And
the other battery surrounding it. And so it makes me wonder, okay, so in the past, we've seen the emotional spectrum in portrayed as kind of a linear type of thing.
Right.
There's, death is one end, life is the other end, all of the other emotions are in the middle, but they go in a linear pattern.
Sure.
This seems to suggest, and again, I may be projecting here, Jeremy Adams' concept of the emotional spectrum is that will is in the middle. And it's like a wheel. All of the other emotions are like spokes on the wheel. That will controls all of these other emotions. And the further away you get from the middle, the more erratic the emotion is. But will is necessary to control all of the other emotions. As opposed to simply being the middle, it's actually something that is integral to all of the other emotions
that makes sense.
Controlled.
That makes sense.
I've just noticed that the same configuration here, and that seems to mean something.
Makes a lot of sense. That will is the base, right? And then the starting point, and then based on your prevailing emotion is what what color, what lantern group you prescribe to. Right?
Well, and it does make sense because think about this. If you have an emotion, will is what can kind of bring that emotion under control
or go off the rails.
Go off the rails and bring a certain outcome into reality.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but like, for instance, let's take a positive emotion like hope. You can hope all
I had hope after Game 6. Yeah.
But it's your will that gets you closer to that goal, whether or not you achieve it.
Yeah.
But you can't simply hope. You have to have will to try to work towards it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. At the same time, if you have an emotion like greed, that can consume you, unless you pull it back and control it with your will.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think that means something, the way that he has the batteries configured.
Very good point.
So now the scene cuts to, and I really like this name, the Castle of the Desolate Stone.
Very ominous.
It makes me feel like the Undertaker every time I say the Castle of the Desolate Stone.
Gotta put the theme in there. The dong.
This is where your end is, Yokozuna. Anyway, so
that was such a good rivalry.
So we see that Starbreaker is assembling his own core, and these are all beings with like negative images or negative emotions here, and they're still incorporeal, but he is figuring out a way to bring them over into reality.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
so now they're kind of ghost core, right?
Yeah, they're kind of a ghost core at this point.
So basically, they control the Ghostbusters universe.
It would be cool if like Slimer popped in for a couple panels.
Or somebody draws Dan Aykroyd as one of the characters.
So one of the things that the lanterns are going to need to relight the various batteries is they make a pilgrimage to Gem World. And they need a couple of these gem rocks, but they're confronted with a crystal dragon. And I think, let me say this, and I know this doesn't seem like it's on topic, but I've always said that I really feel like Superman should have a better pet than a dog. Mm-hmm. And it's not that I'm anti-dog. I like dogs, but I've always said Superman coming from Krypton should have a crystal dragon.
I mean, it would be interesting.
I'm like, they're a highly advanced society. I'm like, why don't they have something like that instead of a dog?
I mean, yeah.
Anyway.
Again, I would like to see the intergalactic zoo to see what's in there.
Yeah. So now the scene.
Maybe North is there.
Yeah.
In the intergalactic zoo. James, are you listening?
The scene cuts back to the Interceptor in deep space, and here we get. This is my favorite moment of really all 5 issues. And they're talking to Aya, who, first of all, she queries, she's like, why have you been flying the Interceptor backwards?
Yeah, it's nice to know, yeah.
But that's not the moment that I'm talking about. She obviously is thinking about Razor and longing for Razor. And immediately Odyssey realizes that
she wants to know if he's still losing machismo. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Yeah, exactly. I had to say it. I couldn't pass it up.
So, by the way, I really like the coloring on the Crystal Dragon back on Gem World.
Yeah.
Lanterns are still trying to get those gem rocks off for their plan to come to fruition. And lots of constructs here.
You know, it's again, we often say, but I don't think it's brought up enough. The balance between a writer and artist is key, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any book to be if they're in sync, the book is often really good. But in the case of Green Lantern, the colorist is vital.
Mm-hmm.
And the work is excellent here, as you pointed out.
Interestingly enough, Carol, who has obviously been influenced over the years by, having a father who has been in the aviation business, she makes a jet construct.
Right.
That is quite impressive.
Yeah, the purple jet was cool.
Yeah. So Starbreaker shows up, and he and Hal go at it. And Hal throws like a construct. He throws like construct ropes, like a muzzle around the Crystal Dragon, and controls it. And he's like, "Let's dance, star loser."
Oh my god! All I wanted was given the fact that it was a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted a construct of Emilia Clarke as her Game of Thrones character. Just on the dragon, riding the dragon. That would be also, just because I haven't used the pen yet today and I feel incomplete, has nothing to do with DC, but Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones, who played the Mother of Dragons, is on the list. All right, I got that out. Go ahead.
And let me say this too. Carol is drawn in a very beautiful way here.
Right, absolutely.
Without being, I've told you before, I don't think that female characters need to be 3/4 naked.
Yeah, well, the Star Sapphire, the old costume is very much like a stripper's outfit, but yeah.
Yeah, this looks really good, and at the same time, like it still looks like a uniform.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that here.
Yeah.
So we see that Carol is still trying. She still has hope for Nathan, who, by the way, is here. Sorrow, by the way.
Yeah.
And she still has hope that she can bring him out of the road that he has started down.
I mean, there's always hope, but it's not looking good right now for him.
But now we go back to Oa for, the lanterns. They get those pieces from Gemworld. They're going to reactivate the batteries. And this is the moment that I was talking about when Razor locks eyes with Aya.
Oh, yeah.
And the emotions here are drawn absolutely perfectly.
Agreed. 100%.
And things did not go exactly the way that I thought they would, because this is issue number 25. I thought maybe this is the end of the arc. This is going to end on an optimistic note because Kyle becomes the White Lantern. But at the same time, Starbreaker is activating his core.
Yeah.
And this issue ends not only with, first of all, Ellie gets pulled into whatever that door is, whatever
the
that
forbidden door, Donnie.
Yeah, whatever that metaphysical realm is, she's pulled into that by whoever is activating this, and I don't think it's Starbreaker, but the color in the last panel, and I really wish they would have made this a full panel,
full page, yeah.
Everybody is gray, and it's like all of the emotions have been sucked out of reality. And Razor even says, I don't feel anything at all. I'm like, uh-oh.
That's not good.
No, that's not good.
I'm so curious where this is going. Like, I have not. It's sometimes certain comics you can kind of see and telegraph where they're going, right? With this, I have no clue. I genuinely, and I'm happy for it.
Well, I've liked the surprises that we've gotten along the way.
100%.
And I like the characters that have been integrated into this. And again, I'll say it. I think so many Green Lanterns have had their chances to shine here. And Jeremy Adams has done just a magnificent job of juggling these characters and at the same time giving us a cohesive story across 2 books. And it feels, and there are a lot of other people, and again, I don't want to dismiss anyone on the creative team, but this really feels kind of like a return to the golden era of Green Lantern, where we were like 20 years ago.
Yeah, like
when
I said,
things were branching out.
Yeah.
And we were on our way to Blackest Night, and eventually Sinestro Corps War, and then Blackest Night, and we had the movie, and then we had the TV series. It feels like between this and Guy Gardner appearing in Superman that maybe we're circling back to where we were 20 years ago.
Yeah, this run, I've said it before, I'll say it again. This run has me just as excited as I was back then for Jeff Johnson stuff. Like Green Lantern is, again, I've told you before, I usually save the books that I really want to read till last. When there's a Green Lantern issue or a Green Lantern Corps issue, those usually end up last or second last in the pile, which means I'm expecting them to be good, so I save them till near the end. So that's the best compliment I can give.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? Overall, these 5 books were a treat to read. I was totally immersed in them. I love how these stories are progressing. I love that we're getting a lot of time with a lot of different lanterns. And again, it's just a great time to be a Green Lantern comic book reader right now, in my opinion. What are your thoughts? And then we'll do some sort of rating.
Well, it's like I said, it feels like we're coming full circle. It feels like we're back to the beginning of another like golden age with all of the offerings out there, that finally we get Green Lantern taking his place among the various DC properties. And I hope I'm right about that.
Yeah, agreed.
I hope 5 years from now we're like, another series of missed opportunities. I hope we're not like that. I hope that DC is finally able to capitalize on Green Lantern, not only the comics, but outside the comics as well.
Yeah, after seeing Superman and just knowing the creative team behind that Lantern show, and that the writers and the directors involved in that show have said, don't worry, you're going to get your Green Lantern trappings. It's not just going to be two guys walking around on Earth for the whole 8 episodes. The fact that they've mentioned the intergalactic, the rings, and all the sci-fi stuff, they've gone out to publicly say, you're getting that, don't worry. It fills me even with more excitement. But yeah, the comics are great. The live action is promising for the first time in a long time. So what would you rate these issues, Donnie, for story and art?
The art was pretty much perfect through all 5.
Yeah. So I guess
the writing, again, next level.
Yeah.
I kind of went back and forth between 4.5 and 5 just because of the use of Nort.
I knew that was it.
I'm gonna be nice and give it a soft 5.
A furry 5 for Nort. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Look, I had zero problems with any of what we read and what we reviewed. Like nothing upset me. Actually, Nort made me happy just because I knew it would irk you a little bit, and I do that lovingly. You know that. And also I'd like to give a shout out to Logan. See, Logan, the reason why Jeremy Adams is putting Nort in these books is for all those times that Uncle Donnie made fun of Batman on the show and wanting John to punch out Batman. So that's what he's getting now. You see the payback. That's called karma. So there it is.
Karma. Okay.
But I'm going to go ahead and give it a 5 for art and a 5 for story. Great stuff. Every month it's like, give me these issues. And I can't wait to see where these stories are going. Keep it up. But that brings us to the end of the show. And now that's the end of PG Me, because the next thing Donnie's gonna have to deal with is Leaf Fan Me. That's a very different beast. That's where the Rage Lantern comes out. But for the sake of this show, if you want to continue the Green Lantern conversation with either Donnie or I, you can on social media. Donnie, where do they track you down?
You can find me on various places on social media. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram and Blue Sky and, of course, YouTube. Let's talk comics. Let's talk collectibles. Let's talk Green Lantern.
I am on the social media version of hell that's known as X, which I still call Twitter. But I'm also on Blue Sky and Instagram, and I will put one of those or a couple of those links in the description. We also have a Facebook group, which I will put in a link in the description. Click that, and I will request permission to be in the group, and I will add you so we can discuss Green Lantern there as well, if that's your thing. But until next time, remember that if Donnie had his way, Nort would be in hell forever. From the first time Green Lantern, Hal Jordan shows up wondering what the hell he's doing there to the last. So long, everybody.
Remember to be kind. Be punk rock.
Indeed.